recognise this music we're talking over. It is the completely brilliant Basement Jaxx and Bingo Bango. Basement Jaxx are going to be on the Isle of Man next week. I cannot quite believe this. And the fact that FatboySlim is going to be on the Isle of Man as well. Actual Norman Cook and Example and a load of fabulous DJs as well. And they're all going to be at the Nunnery. I have got the people who have brought these people to the Isle of Man in the studio with me now. A whole scutch of them. Just everyone say hello.
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 Aren't you lovely? Right, so we've got Hailey with us, we've got Andy with us, we've got Phil with us, and we've got Connor with us, who's going to be playing on the night. So we'll come to you all sort of individually as we go. I suppose what I want to know first of all is what is metabolism? Because this whole thing is branded as metabolism. Andy, I'm going to come to you about that. What is metabolism?
What is metabolism?
Yeah.
It's an experience. It's an event. It's something that's been in the pipeline for quite some time. That come off the back of being away and living in Ibiza and working for other people's brands and kind of being a big part of some really, really big stuff elsewhere around the world. But always kind of at the back of my mind, having my own little thing and kind of just over time that kind of developed into metabolism. The word kept on coming up, and the word of it, that's behind it, is my favourite creature has always been a hummingbird. Hence why our company behind Metabolism and some other promotions in the UK is called Hummingbird Promotions. And I always thought, I wonder what the metabolism of a hummingbird must be to be able to hold itself in mid-flight. It must use a lot of energy here.
This is very poetic.
So yeah, that's where the kind of word come from, and kind of tying it in with the companies and stuff. And I suppose metabolism, same as a hummingbird, it's the same as for us, isn't it? It's what's inside us. It's what the energy, the fuel, what burns it up, what drives us. And almost sort of like a human superpower. It's something in us that drives us, and yeah. Metabolism.
Somebody give this man a radio show. I mean, that is beautiful to hear. It really is. And Phil, as we mentioned, I've mentioned the guys we've got coming over. I mean, you've translated this idea of Andy's. We've now got this incredible festival happening in the Nunnery on the Isle of Man. How do you get acts like FatboySlim, Basement Jaxx, Example to come to the tiny Isle of Man?
Well, that is a great question, isn't it? I suppose, first and foremost, Andy had been talking about this for so many years, and FatboySlim was always the act that we were looking at. We wanted to bring someone over that spanned generations. I think there's probably, from a DJ perspective, there's probably only two that are current and relevant and span generations. That's Coxon and FatboySlim, that are still in that kind of the headline and the big stuff, as well as being remembered from the 90s and the noughties. And that was really important because we needed an act to come over that would appeal to people that went out in the 90s but perhaps didn't go out, and then young people that that are just hearing about FatboySlim, which still amazes me that the young people now just sort of clipping onto his music and listening to it, which is great. So it was always about that. It was always about bringing over DJs and acts that we thought would appeal and to a wide spectrum of people.
And I think that's part of the thing now with young people. You're saying it's fascinating that they are now still discovering him and still loving him. That's the world we live in, isn't it? Because you've got streaming now. Yes. So when you stream something, you quite often get recommended something else which might be new. And literally all music is available to us as human beings. And so you can listen to something that is absolutely bang up to date. And then the next thing on your Spotify or YouTube or whatever playlist might be something from the 60s, and so you literally have access to everything, don't you?
Yeah, and programs as well. Imagine the year's 2022 and you're 18 years old and you've only just discovered Kate Bush because of Stranger Things. And now Kate Bush is was at number one, and and that's the world we live in now, where something can happen which just captures people's imagination, and it just catches fire, and then straight away it just becomes a massive thing. When Kate Bush wouldn't have even been on any young person's radar just a few months ago. And that's the beauty of the modern world.
It's the right people making it happen at the right time, and I think that's kind of what's happening with Metabolism by the sound of things. Hailey, I'm going to come to you now. Hello, gorgeous girl.
Hello.
It's lovely to have you here. For one
great
thing.
To be here.
Now, you are someone who has travelled a lot. I mean, mostly with this sort of motorsport background, because you host a lot of motorsport programmes, don't you, and do lots of interviews that way. But you also are a huge music fan, and there's something on the website which I absolutely loved. I'm going to pick up on this because it said there's something on the website talking about memories and how essentially music is all about making memories. Those moments in time when you stand in muddy fields with your closest friends become the cornerstones of our best stories and anecdotes for years. And I think that is absolutely true. And I'm guessing that you've had some of those moments yourself. And so I'm just wondering, which ones stick out for you? What sort of stands out for you as being some good music memories?
I mean, obviously, just getting my wellies on and getting in the crowd and enjoying, no matter what the weather, just embracing the energy and the vibe and the live acts, really. V Festival I always loved. I've been there a few times.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, just to think that we can do that on the Isle of Man in a location like the Nunnery, and with what we're going to be bringing to it and be building in those gardens as well, it's going to be insane, and I can't wait.
It's going to be nuts, isn't it? And it's not just about the music, is it? There's going to be all sorts going on in the Nunnery.
Yeah. So we've got local food vendors. So we've got 5 local food vendors. We've got a huge bar. So the event space in the Nunnery is going to be turned in, the marquee. It's going to be turned into like a one-way system bar. So we've got pop-up gin, Nunnery Gin are coming on board. What else have we got, Andy? Yeah, we got loads. It's an immersive experience, and we've spoke to you about this before, and that's what we're building the brand on, is getting you in it, feeling it, experiencing it, and wanting to come back for not just the music, but the brand and what you go through when you come and experience it. So.
Well, I'm intrigued by that, because that suggests there is more coming up in the pipeline.